Hello, English 101 students. Congratulations on getting your long essay in or being almost ready to turn that in. Whatever the case, you've done a lot of hard work in unusual circumstances, so you should feel good about that. I'm looking forward to reading those essays, and I'll be getting you feedback hopefully by the end of the week or the beginning of next week. So I want to talk a little bit about what to expect in the coming weeks, in the remaining weeks of the class. Oops, sorry about that. First thing that you'll need to do is fill out a self-appraisal for your long essay. I'll show you more about all of these things in a minute. And then we're going to be working on your portfolio. You'll be picking which short essay to revise. You'll write up a revision plan. You'll revise your short and your long essays, and then you'll write a cover letter. This video is going to talk about each of those things. But first of all, why a portfolio? Why am I having you do this in the final weeks of class? Well, the big reason is that this helps to reiterate that writing is a process, that good writing is based on multiple drafts after you get reader feedback, after you've had time to think and review. And so this way, or a big chunk of your grade, 45% of your grade, is based on improved writing, rather than the first time around that you wrote these papers. You'll have a chance to really dig into your revisions and make these papers as good as you can make them. Okay, as you work on your revisions, don't forget about the resources that are all on D2L for you, the updated schedule, the assignment, the original essay assignments. If you're looking back at your profile essay or your voting essay, you should review those original assignments. There's also a sample cover letter that I'll show you, plus my feedback on the original essays. So let's take a look real quick at D2L and what you can expect in the coming weeks. I'll talk a little more specifically about all of these assignments. So here's the announcement for today. First of all, go to this link to fill out your self-appraisal. You'll see the Google form right here, and this will be your self-appraisal of the long essay that you've just written. It'll also be good practice for the cover letter that's a couple weeks away. And then when you're done with your self-appraisal, you can start focusing on moving ahead on the portfolio. You're watching the video now. You should be reading the assignment as well. Review the updated schedule and then complete the revision plan that's in the schedule. Let's take a look at that schedule. Here it is. For Thursday or Friday at the latest, I want you to decide which short essay that you want to revise, and then write up a revision plan, which basically answers these 5 questions. Get that in no later than Friday. Just show me that you've started to think about your revising, even if you haven't actually started revising it yet. The sooner you can start your revision, the better. But at the very least, start thinking about which essay you want to revise. Now, how do you know which essay to revise? Some people pick the strongest one because they feel like they have less work to do to get to their goal. Other people like to pick the weaker one so that they can challenge themselves to really bring that up to where they want to. A lot of students have kind of the same grade on both the profile and the voting essay, so it's hard to choose grade-wise. In that case, pick the essay that you think will ultimately be the best portfolio piece, the essay that you think is going to show off your best writing skills. Okay? And then you're going to work on your revision of that short essay. You'll also, once you get your long essay back from me, will revise the long essay too. Let's take a look at the actual portfolio assignment. If you go to Content and you go down to Revision in the Portfolio, you'll see the updated schedule we just looked at, and here is the portfolio assignment. Okay, so again, the purpose is to show that you've mastered course objectives and that you've revised and improved your writing throughout the term. This is a great opportunity to really show off your very best writing skills. Okay? As the syllabus states, you must successfully complete the portfolio, meaning you must earn at least a C on the portfolio in order to pass English 101 with a C grade or better. In other words, if your portfolio shows that you still haven't mastered course objectives, if you're still struggling, then you can't pass English 101. Okay, so the required contents, you'll have a cover letter, and I'll talk about that in a minute and show you a sample. You're going to revise your long essay after you get it back, and you'll revise your short essay. Again, you get to choose whether you want the profile essay or the voting essay. It's completely up to you. The deadline is the Friday of the last week of classes. And then once you got your portfolio in, there's no final exam for this class. You'll have nothing to do during finals week. Please try to meet that deadline simply because the portfolios take me a long time to grade and I want to be able to meet my deadline. But if something comes up and you need an extension, make sure you contact me about that as soon as you're able to. All you have to do to submit your portfolio is to submit the 3 pieces on D2L. If we were in a face-to-face class still, I would have you turn in a folder, actual physical folder. Obviously, that's not going to work. So submit your cover letter, your revised short essay, and your revised long essay on D2L. Now, here's the tricky part, potentially. I'm going to be grading you on revision, partly. So that means I need to see the original graded versions. And if you're revising your profile essay, you have a paper copy of that. I graded it in pencil and returned it to you in class. That means if I need to see your original version of it, the original graded version, you'll need to scan it or take pictures of it and get that back to me as well. If you're revising the voting essay and of course the long essay, I have electronic versions of my comments on those. The directions for formatting are here. They're the same as usual, so nothing surprising there. All right, let's talk about the cover letter. After you revise your papers, or after you're mostly done revising your papers, I'm going to want you to write a 2 to 3 page cover letter. The purpose is metacognitive. Remember, we have been doing metacognition all semester. Your first essay was metacognitive. You've done a number of self-appraisals in which you're thinking about your writing. You're thinking about your thinking. So the purpose here is metacognitive as well, and it's also to tell me about your revision, so to prepare me for the contents of your portfolio. Your cover letter will need to contain these 2 major pieces of information: some reflection on your writing and a description of your revision. You can do this in any order that makes sense. So when you write your reflection part, think about your strengths this semester and what parts of the portfolio demonstrate those strengths. Think about what things have been challenging for you and how you've worked to address those challenges, and you can give examples from the portfolio or from the semester. Tell me about your writing process. If it's changed, you can tell me about that. And then tell me about the kinds of things you're going to continue to work on in English 102, in your future college classes, when you write in the workplace, and so on. And then the other major part of this cover letter is to describe what you revised. I'll want specific details about each essay and the specific changes that you've made. As a reader of your work, I'm going to be curious about this. Okay? Remember, as always, to use specific examples from your writing to support your ideas. The length is 500 words minimum, but really I think you're probably going to need at least 600 if you're going to use specific details and examples to support your ideas. For format, this really is a letter. So you can start with a greeting, like Dear Professor Koch, and include a closing with your name at the end. Single spacing is fine for a letter. And since it is a letter, you'll be using personal pronouns like I and you. Let's take a look at a sample. So if we go to D2L, excuse me, let's go there. We're still in D2L. Let's go to contents, back to the revision and the portfolio. And here you'll see a sample cover letter. As always, when I give you samples, please don't try to imitate the sentence structure. Don't copy. Don't use these as templates. Use entirely your own language. You shouldn't even be looking at this letter when you're writing your own. This is really nicely structured. There's a paragraph with some introduction and some discussion of strengths. Then the writer talks about some challenges. The writer talks about writing process here. And then the next 2 paragraphs describe revisions. So this paragraph is very specific about changes that were made in the short essay, changes that were made in the long essay, and closing and the signature you don't have to worry about. And ink, obviously, just type your name at the end. This one is a little longer than the minimum. It's closer to 800 words. Okay, so that's the cover letter. Hopefully you'll find that completely doable. Let's go back to this. So in the rest of the portfolio handout, I have some suggestions for getting your portfolio ready. Again, decide which short essay you want to revise, do your revision plan. I'm going to make a separate video, I think, about revision, but just keep in mind that when you revise, this is about much more than simply correcting little things like spelling and apostrophes and so on. You're going to want to revise things like content and structure, big holistic changes at the essay and paragraph levels. If all you do is just change a few minor details, your grade isn't going to change at all. So this revision asks you to really dive in and think carefully about bigger issues. On your papers, I had this portfolio in mind, so I gave you comments with specific suggestions for your revision. If you already got an A on your paper, then you probably only need to do minor things. But everybody else will need to have some major work done on their paper. So here's some examples. Okay, you can look at this more carefully. I just want to talk a little bit more about the grading. As I mentioned, 45% of your course grade comes from this portfolio. So a large chunk of your grade will be based on improved work. The absolute requirements, though, for your portfolio to pass are that you have to have a complete portfolio with all three pieces. Your portfolio must not have any major plagiarism in it. The long essay must cite at least 3 sources and be at least 1,250 words long, not counting the works cited list. You might remember these are college-wide and statewide requirements for English 101 students. So you need to have these 4 minimum things going on in your portfolio for it to get it at least a C, in addition, of course, to the quality of your work. So when I grade your portfolio, I'll look again that you've completed everything. I'll look at the quality of your writing, and I'll look at evidence of revision. Again, this is absolutely required. You can't just say, I'm happy with my C or B and turn in the same paper. Revision is your assignment for the next couple of weeks. Okay. On the bottom here is just a little bit of information of how the course grades are added up very slightly differently because I canceled 2 short essays. And then at the very end is the revision or the rubric for the portfolio. Please notice that the revision is at the top. It's the first thing I'm going to grade. Have you effectively revised, showing improvement and attention to audience concerns? In other words, are you able to respond to reader feedback and incorporate reader suggestions into your writing? This is a huge skill for every writer out there. Okay, take a look at all of this more carefully and be sure to let me know if you have any questions at all, because I really want you all to do well on this assignment. Okay, so the last thing I want to leave you with is my confidence. You've worked really hard. You've done what a lot of students would have found insurmountable in terms of the challenges this semester, and you're very capable of writing a really strong portfolio, doing great work on your revisions, and writing a good cover letter. I'm here to help you. If you want to have more virtual conferences, you can set those up. Please leave week 14 for my 102 students if you can, but I'm more than happy to meet with you this week, next week, the week after, to help you do portfolio revisions to the best of your ability. And as always, email me if you have any questions so that you can do the best you can. Take care and happy revising.